It's time for the RPM Podcast, starring Scott Riggleman.
He's not afraid to stick it in.
Tim Riggleman.
I just couldn't suck up to him.
And Josh Matthews.
He's not going to go ramming into somebody.
And here we are again, episode 184 of the RPM Podcast. It is September 29th in 2020 at 8:31 p.m. Now, we missed last week because I had to go away on vacation. I just want to apologize for that, and we're going to do a quick show.
How dare
tonight.
you?
Yeah, I was just too tired to do it last night with you guys, so we chose Tuesday night. And we're here now. We're going to do about an hour and a half show. I'm Scott Riggleman down in Manchester, New Jersey. I'm the host of the RPM Podcast. My brother, Tim Riggleman, is up in Farmingdale, New Jersey. He's the spotter for Anthony Cecily in the number 16 Wall Stadium Modified. Tim, how are you?
I'm good, ready to go.
And, of course, we have our producer down in Waretown, New Jersey, Joshua Matthews, in the Matthews family studio. Josh, I learned a little something about your family this weekend, and now I know where your fortunes come from, so there's no more of you hiding that you're not a millionaire.
Oh, yeah.
I did tow a car for your family, and I did get to talk to your mom a little bit over at your farm over there on Todd Road in Toms River. And you guys are the mass producers of something called junk hay. What exactly is junk hay?
It's basically overgrown grass. You just let whatever is in the field grow, and then you cut it and bale it. And, sometimes people can mix like alfalfa and stuff in there and, make it a little bit more appetizing for horses and cows and such. But otherwise, yeah. So junk hay, they'll use it for the bales.
Like the landscapers, right? I'm guessing the landscapers use
No,
it,
not so much that, because you'd want straw bales for that, because then you're less likely to grow anything. Whereas if you use the regular junk hay in landscaping, there's a lot of that the seeds on the top, and then you're going to end up growing more of that stuff than what you actually tried to put down. So like sometimes when they're doing construction, they'll line hay bales around the drainage inlets.
Yeah. So the dirt doesn't run out into the road.
Yeah, and it's also good for, if you're at one of those like street race type thing, like the Isle of Man things,
Okay.
So it's better for the motorcycle guys to hit a hay bale than a concrete wall.
It's good to put in the pits at a dirt racetrack when it rains, because they like to put hay all over the place.
So does your family have like a customer that buys all that, or do they have to go like pedal it once it's baled, or is it like pre-sold?
It's hit or miss. I mean, sometimes it really depends on if anybody's doing any of that work at that time nearby. Where my dad works, they'll buy it, from time to time, but not every time. It depends on how much or how busy they are. And then we've had some of the better stuff that we've, sold to, we have a neighbor with a horse farm, so the horses will eat, some of that and whatnot. But
how many times a year do you have to bale that? Is it just one harvest a year, or is it harvest it
usually twice a year?
Twice a year?
Yeah. That just, it's how you let it grow to a certain height. It's not really too scientific, but yeah, then you cut it, bale it, and then it'll grow again, and then you try to get one more in, just before fall, and that should be about it.
All right, so from the Joshua family fortune of junk hay, we have Josh Matthews, and so we're going to move right along. What we're going to do today is we're going to start right off at Wall Stadium. We're going to see how long this goes, and then we'll touch a little base on some of the NASCAR headlines. I'm going to start the day off at Wall Stadium. Me and Tim were just talking about this in our pre-show. For a late September Saturday night at the racetrack, it was warm out, Josh. It was like during practice when we got there at 2:00 at the race cars unloaded. Practice starts at 3. It was hot. It was hot and sweaty, and everybody was drinking water.
Which is
it was
surprising.
good weather, but it was warm and humid.
I was say that's surprising because we had a surprisingly good and early start to our fall season with the temperatures dropping down to the 60s, even the high 50s. Leading up to this, and for it to be warm, go right back to being warm all of a sudden. That's just.
I tell you, I was down in Florida Keys, and when we were down there, like a couple of days, I checked the weather up here. One day it was 45 degrees. I'm like, oh, cool, I'm down here in nice 85-degree weather. Next day I checked it was like 82 degrees up here. It was actually warmer up here than it was in the Florida Keys.
Yeah.
It was a weird week of weather last week where you had a couple cold days and a couple warm days. Saturday was a warm day. no showers, no chance of rain, but it was humid. It was humid over there. The speeds were a little down in practice because of it. Usually now we can knock off some real good lap times, and everybody was a little like a tenth or so slower than they thought they were going to be. But yeah, we started off with the drivers' meeting at Wall Stadium after practice, and Emily Krause has been doing a really great job. She actually took over as general manager from her mother this year, and she's doing a great job. She actually comes down to the drivers' meetings, and she does like a little like address of the union, kind of like what the presidents do every once in a while, and she keeps us up to date what's going on and how things are going and everything. And she even let us vote on a few things of going forward the rest of the season here. One of the things was the banquet. She wanted to know what we wanted to do with the banquet. She said she can have a banquet at the place we always have it, and the only problem is she's only allowed 150 people, and she says we normally have 350 people there. So she figured out a little math, and she said what I can do the top 10 in points for the modified, sportsman's, and street and factory stocks. I can do top 5 for legend cars and late models. Each driver can bring 2 people, so it would be 3 people a team. That's the best she can do. It comes out to 150 people.
Right.
The other option was she can have a big party in the pits. She can have 500 people in the pits. She would supply the food, the trophies. She would have her old cross do like a little trophy ceremony there, and we can just have a big pit party. People can bring trailers, campers, whatever they want to bring, set up, bring tables, chairs.
Did you have a date for these options?
Well, that was the next thing I was getting to.
Okay.
She gave us 2 options with that. So not only did she give us that option, she gave us 2 dates. She said we can either do it October 11th on a Sunday from noon to whenever we want after championship night, or we could wait until the following Saturday and be a little more prepared for it, October 17th. We get there at 3 o'clock and do it to like midnight or noon to midnight, whatever we wanted to do. And everybody voted for that. Everybody voted for the pit party, October 17th, the banquet in the pits.
That's cool.
I like that, Al. I think that's going to be pretty cool. So is it BYOB or
Yeah. She said she'll supply the food. We got to bring our own booze and everything like that. And, how can a guy like
me with the fans too?
It's pretty much, yeah. Yeah, she said she'd love to have 500 people there. When banquets under normal circumstances, fans are welcome to that too, as long as you buy a ticket. You know what I'm saying?
How about
have to be with a race.
How about the European podcast being there?
Yeah, that might not be a bad idea. Me and Ellie had a couple ideas, maybe.
Well, I do have some of the equipment if they needed speakers or what. No, they'd probably just play everything in music over the track.
Yeah, he can do it right from the PA system, from the pit check.
Yeah.
But me and Ellie are just wondering how crazy it's going to get. People are going to show up with mini bikes and go-karts. Me and Ellie are tossing the idea around like dwarf tossing or something like that, It's going to be interesting, but I think it's a great idea, and that was one of the options. So, as of right now, the way it was left at the drivers' meeting, the banquet will be held in the pits October 17th, the Saturday after the final night, championship night at the racetrack.
What's your question, Tim?
We could use like an enclosed trailer or a cube van, make like a little studio in there. European.
That we'll just set up the tables, and I need one of those easy up tents. That's what we need.
And she said the problem too. She was thinking about having like a big shindig right at the track with big fancy tents and heat it, and you can still get dressed up and all that stuff. She said the problem is she called around to all these tent rental places. There's no place to be had right now. They're all at restaurants and stuff. Like there's a shortage of these big tents, the fancy ones that people use at weddings and stuff.
Yep.
So she said, this way, if you want to bring your enclosed trailer and sit in it, you're easy up. She's like, we have all this stuff. You guys are here every week with protection from the weather for your race cars and your crews. Just bring it here again. You know what I'm saying? Like, she was totally cool, and she got a good round of applause for it. Like, people seem like pretty pumped up to have the banquet this way.
Yeah, it's definitely a change up, but I mean, it allows that many more people to be part of it, and I think it's a absolutely great way to handle the situation.
She said another problem too with if she was to have the banquet at the banquet hall like we always have it, you weren't even allowed to dance or anything. Like that was all.
You can't be that close to people. Yeah.
You can't be that close to people. So really sounded like a boring time to have it inside, And she said it would have been, tables would have been spaced out. We wouldn't be able to really sit with other people. She said it would have been miserable, but she left it up to us. She gave us a vote. The other thing she talked about was Turkey Derby. Turkey Derby is a little still up in the air.
Okay.
It really is. There was a few more options with that. She gave us a couple plans she has in her idea. They're not up to her, but it's, choice A, choice B, choice C,
Mm-hmm.
Choice A is business as usual. 3 days, unlimited tickets, full capacity. And she says she thinks she's real close to getting that. She's been talking to the town, and she really thinks that's going to happen. But there is a couple other options. If she has to go to the limited amount of people like she has now, she said what she would do, she'd probably cut it back to 2 days. She probably wouldn't do the Sunday. She would just do Friday and Saturday. And she would, to try to make up the money for the attendance that she can't have at the track, she's looking into doing a pay-per-view.
Okay. All right. Well, we talked about that before on the show, and I'm assuming internet streaming. That's easy enough. I'd honestly be willing to be part of that. I have some equipment, and if I can help out, I'd be more than happy.
I'm sure she has somebody in mind, and a lot of people are doing this, and I think she's pretty much talking to somebody about it. And of course, the third option is the one we don't want. And she stressed it's very, very, very slim chances Turkey Derby is just going to get canceled. Yeah, but she said she really thinks that she's going to be able to have full capacity 3-day show. But worst comes to worst, she might have to cut it down to 2 days and do the same what we've been doing. 500 in the stands or 500 in the pits, and try to sell the rest on pay-per-view.
Well, I don't think I think regardless, it might be an interesting way to address it, to at least try the pay-per-view regardless of.
Yeah, I mean, even if you're full capacity, I would still try the pay-per-view thing.
Because I know we have guys like Rich Gould down in Florida that would love to be able to watch and be part of it somehow. So.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
I agree with you, Josh. I think it should be on pay-per-view no matter what. You're still going to sell the tickets. The place is still going to be packed, and you'll get the people that moved away to like California that can't make it back. You know what I'm saying? I agree with you, Josh. So yeah, I mean, as of right now, she definitely wants to have Turkey Derby, and she's trying her best to get it done. So
I have a better
very
idea.
good little meeting we had with Emily at the racetrack, and it was great that she's keeping us. She's keeping us informed what's going on. Where before it kind of felt like we did one thing at a time over there. You got through Spooky, then you found out about Turkey Derby, and then you got through Turkey Derby and you found out about the banquet. But with COVID, you kind of, at least she's telling us, I'm trying to do this, but it's not all up to her right now because of the government officials and stuff like that.
Did she say anything about the camping?
She didn't mention the camping, and no one asked, but I assume by her saying the 3-day event, full capacity, business as usual, it's camping too,
Yeah, I don't see why that would be an issue.
Area are open,
If with the campers, and I think we mentioned in our last show, possibly, for every other camping spot, to increase the distance a little bit or something like that. But yeah, there's no reason you can't have camping at that point.
Really, everybody, the grumbling at the drivers' meeting are like, well, after, because Turkey Derby's at the end of November, so it's going to be after the election. Everything's going to be business as usual by then anyway, So. All right, so we started off the night. The first division to roll down the hill was the Legend cars. No, 4 cylinders, Tim. 4 cylinders rolled down the hill first. Josh, you have the results ready to go?
I did. I need to dig them back up.
All right. Pretty cool. A little history was made at Wall Stadium in the 4-cylinder division. It was an all-female front row in the 4-cylinder feature. It was Nicole Rosano and Darianne McLaren made up the front row. Tim, do you know who was on the pole and who was on the outside pole?
No, I have no idea.
Yeah,
I believe Darianne had the pole because she won, I think, the first heat race.
Okay.
I believe that was the way it played out. So, yeah. All right. Anyway, moving on. Continue.
Yeah, so that was pretty cool. A little history made at Wall Stadium. Front row made of 2 females, and that was pretty cool. Something different. I didn't get to see the race. I was getting ready for my race. Tim, did anything exciting happen in that 4-cylinder race?
I don't know. It's a typical 4-cylinder race. So I really didn't pay that much attention to it, to tell you the truth.
I heard her.
I did. I was able to see a little bit of it, and I know they were running side by side there at the end, first and second place. I think it was TJ Graves. Was it TJ Graves that won the race, Josh?
Yes.
Oh yeah.
And Alonso got second, right?
Yes, correct.
They were battling. They were side by side the last few laps. It was exciting, and they raced each other very clean. It was a good race. It really was. And TJ's hooked up this year. He's got that little car flying around that racetrack, and it was one of the better races of the night for sure because of the two leaders were side by side, door handle to door handle, and they raced each other super clean, and it was a clean race. And right at the line, they really edged each other right at the line. Like he won by maybe a fender, if that.
Mm-hmm.
It was a good race, a very exciting race. 4-cylinders do put on a good show. Josh, if you want to hit us with the top 10 of that, and just give us a total car count too. Car counts weren't bad, but they were a little light. This time of the year, you never know what you're going to get with the car counts. You can either get the guys that show up that haven't been there all year to try to get one more race in before the winter comes, or people just fizzle out because they raced enough already. You know what I'm saying?
Or some of the guys, their equipment's beat up. I know
Derek. Right, motor and not worry about it next year. You know what I'm saying?
Like we talked about Darianne starting on the front row there, but she hurt the motor somehow. So I saw JC posted they're going to pull the motor and take it up to Tischler.
Hey, Tim, did you notice she did pit? She might have got a flat or something. She did pit and come back out on the track. And when she came back out on the track, the people were cheering like crazy, man. It was pretty cool. It was an exciting moment when she came back out of the pits. Like I looked down the grandstands and people were literally cheering as she was going by the front grandstands. And it was pretty cool to see that.
Hey, the 4-cylinders have a strong following. Like I said last week, people are starting to stay to watch them now. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, they're not going home. They're staying to watch the whole thing. They have a good following, the 4-cylinders.
Yeah, they're very personable people. They're good. They kind of they're taken after what the factory stocks did. Over the past, I'd say, decade when they gradually became more and more popular as people began to recognize what a good race they actually put on.
You know what helps too? The 4-cylinder division's been there a while, and there's a few guys that have been racing that division for a while, like steady people in there. So people have people to root for. When a division changes hands a lot, where people come and go, you kind of lose interest in it. But when you have a core group of racers that stay in that division, it gives the fans something to, root for. You know what I'm saying?
Right. Yeah. Right. So. A quick top 10, TJ Graves, who's been on the show before, he said great race. He takes the win. Alonso Morales in second. Doug Ashford, Ryan Marr, Sal Ligori, Billy Prost, Nicole Rosano, Cody Critelli, Sean Volksanic, and Ian Ashford are your top 10.
Cool. How many cars were there, Josh?
16. We had 16 of the 4-cylinders.
That's not normal for them. They get from 14 to 18 cars every week.
They have a fairly steady showing. I think the most was, which is fairly typical, was the factory stocks with 20.
Right. And that's even a little light for us. We've been creeping up around 22, 23 every week,
Yeah, and it's not unheard of for 25 cars to show up.
Right. All right, next down the hill was what I call the caution stocks, better known as the sportsmen's.
Yep.
With the caution light on, Josh.
Oh, it's spinning.
I tell you what, though, Josh, they came rolling down that hill. They tell the factory, as soon as they pull down on the track, they tell the factory stocks to stage, because we follow them. We usually get out of the cars, walk around, watch the race, get a hamburger, go to the bathroom, wash your hands, comb your hair. Not this time. We pull up, we get out, walk up to the track to watch a little bit. They're already on lap 10. They were going nonstop, Josh. Mm-hmm. And to the point where Jeff Tice, our pit steward, said to all the factory stock guys, this race is going quick. Get back in your cars. You're going to be going out real quick. And he jinxed it. We sat in the car for about 45 minutes after he told us to do that because
45 minutes?
Like Darrell Waltrip says, caution breeds cautions. As soon as we strapped in those cars, the cautions came out. Restart after restart, caution after caution.
I swear you got to have a second battery in your receiver if you're behind the sportsman, or if you're lined up.
I tell you what, though, I think they won about 14 laps before the first caution.
Wow.
Tim, did you spot for anybody in the sportsman race?
No, I did not. No.
Unfortunately, Neil Rutt the third went in there as the point leader, and he got involved into a wreck in the beginning of the race. They just thought he ripped off his rear Nerf bar, and he did come into pits. I actually see Neil get out of the race car, right, run all the way up to the parts truck, grab a rear Nerf bar off the parts truck, run back to his car, get back in his car as his father and crew were bolting the Nerf bar back on, pulls out on the track. I'm like, great, he's not going to lose many points because I know they're really working hard to try to win that championship.
Mm-hmm.
And unfortunately, I seen him pull right back into pits, and I talked to his father yesterday.
Over the rear end or something.
Yeah, I talked to Neil Rutt Jr., he would be, Neil's father over at O'Shea's Auto Repair yesterday, and he said unfortunately the rear broke too. So it wasn't just a Nerf bar; they had the rear broke, and
unfortunately for that small of a team that's a major expense. Those rear ends.
They said they already have the rear out of the car, and they bought it over to Billy Cole's shop, and Billy Cole's putting a new rear together. They're hoping to have it done.
What were you doing over at O'Shea's, Scott?
What's that?
What were you doing over at O'Shea's?
Junk car removal.
I deserve that.
All right, so that was the sportsman race. I want to hit us with the top 10.
Yeah, absolutely. So getting the win was Carson D. Giant Tommaso, then Robert Sutphin, Jake Nelke, Jarrett D. Giant Tommaso, Rob Anderton, Jimmy Walcott, Kenny Reeves, Ryan Fisher, Dave Bailey, and Jonathan Leray. Now, we talked about Neil Rutt III. He ended up in 12th after that. And do you know what happened to Eric Lane?
Tim.
He was in one of those accidents. I don't know.
Okay, yeah, they have him down.
I know it must have been pretty bad because they said they're pretty much calling it a season, and they're going to, over the winter, they're going to get a modified motor, and they want to try to move into the modified division, so they're going to get a head start on that.
They'll probably wreck less stuff.
The last couple of weeks, and they always make it back Saturday. So we'll see if the lane racing team's there Saturday or not.
Well, hopefully they'll be back. But if they do decide to go up to modifieds, all right, fine.
They'll just wreck faster now. I don't know.
I think they're going to wreck less because
think so? That's what they think.
Didn't the modifieds actually go all green?
Yeah, they did. Yeah, they did.
So,
but we'll get to that one in a little bit.
Yeah.
There was something I wanted to say.
Oh, that was 14 cars for the sportsman, by the way.
14 cars?
Yep.
There was something else I wanted to say about the sportsman. I forget.
Well, the light's still going, so if you want to.
I just wanted to mention somebody that had a good run. I can't remember who. Give me that top 10 again, Josh.
That was Carson D. Giant Tommaso, Robert Sutphin, Jake Nelke.
Robert Sutphin. That's who I want to talk about. Robert Sutphin has been driving extremely well this year. He's been driving fast race cars. They really had Timmy Steffen's car running really good in the beginning of the year, and Robert was really kicking butt with that car. Well, they sold that car. And then Robert Sutphin shows up in a different car, the X3 of, I think it's Alan Kame's car, and he was flying again. They had that car running good, too, so they definitely found a good setup for these Troyer cars with the crate motor. And Robert, he's one of the elder statesmen of the division, and he had another great run. So it's good to see Robert having a very strong year in two different cars and pretty much a part-time schedule.
Al Cam's car is maintained by Rob Ormsby. So
Rob's got a good setup on that car, and that's a beautiful race car. It's all top-notch. I really hope Robert finishes out the year with that car. I think they can squeeze a win out this year with that car, maybe even two, maybe even like a Turkey Derby win with that car.
All right. Okay. So Scott, who rolled down the hill next?
The American Steel, as the announcers call it. American Steel rolled down on the track, the factory stock division. We had 20 cars. Unfortunately, Fancy Nancy didn't make it. She was still a little tired from the vacation. Like I said, we landed Friday at like 3 o'clock, and by the time we got off the plane and got the car and got back home, it was 6 o'clock. I had to go out in the garage all night and get my car fixed from the week before because it was wrecked, and we left Sunday morning. So I was out there to midnight fixing my car.
Scott,
back.
You said you had a little delay getting off the plane, even though it landed at a good time.
There was a little bit of a fight as we were unloading off the plane, and it held things up a little bit. So that made it exciting. But yeah, we made it home. If my car wasn't wrecked from last Saturday, I planned on going to Big Diamond when we got home because they had an Enduro Friday night. But unfortunately, I wasn't able to make it up there because I had to fix my car. to make it to the track on Saturday. So I worked on my car all night Friday after flying all the way home from Florida. And I got up early Sunday morning and finished it Saturday morning. And I was back out in the garage like 7 in the morning Saturday morning to finish it, go over Nancy's car. I got mine loaded up. I was just getting ready to load hers up, and I walked in the house, and she's like, "Scott, I'm exhausted. I can't race tonight. Would you be mad if I didn't race?" I said, "No, actually, it would help me out because I'm starting to run out of steam myself." So it made my day a little bit easier going over there with one car. But her car was ready. It will be ready for this weekend, and we'll talk about this a little bit later. But this weekend is a ladies' night, so she always enjoys going to that race. So the factory stocks rolled down on the track. We had a few cautions too, Josh. I can't blame it all on the sportsmen. We had our fair share of cautions too. It was a good race, though.
It happens, but I don't know of any other division that has a shirt dedicated to the division.
Yeah, Elliot Wall selling these shirts. What do they say? I'm only here for the factory stocks.
Yes.
And what he's doing with the money, of course, he's got to cover his expenses. But what he's doing with the profits of that is he's been giving bonuses to anybody who finishes from 4th down to 20th. You know what I'm saying?
Like they pick a random
money out a little bit. Like Nancy finished 16th one night, and she got a $50 bonus from Elliot Wall's T-shirt sale. So all those T-shirts you see walking around the racetrack is helping pay some bonus money to the factory stock guys. So if anybody wants a T-shirt, get a hold of Elliot Wall. He's still got boxes full of them. I'm trying to get him now that everybody's kind of bought the factory stock ones. I said, now you should do something with the 4 cylinders. I want them to make T-shirts saying 4 cylinders, half the cylinders, twice the drama.
Okay, I'll give you that one.
You can do the same bonus program with them. You know what I'm saying?
What sucks right now is the fans can't go into the pits after the races to buy all this stuff. So
yeah, now he's been sending people out with him. I think JC Duvall's been handling that. So if you guys want a T-shirt, message JC Duvall on Facebook. JC Duvall comes in the pits during the day, and then on feature time he goes out into the grandstand so he can.
Bailey got hers from Jeff Green.
What's that?
Bailey got hers
Jeff had
from
some too in the grandstands.
Yeah.
I mean, get a hold of Elliot, get a hold of JC Duvall, Jeff Green, whoever you got to get a hold of. They can get you the shirts.
Now these shirts are black with white writing. If they do one for the sports,
they're basically simple shirts, you know.
Yeah, no, they're very simple, but they're very to the point, and they're a lot of fun. If they do make one for the sportsman, it'll obviously be in yellow.
Yeah. It'll be caution stock.
So
it'll say sportsman with a question mark. Oh, you mean caution stocks?
Okay.
All right. So the factory stocks rolled down on the track. We had a few cautions too, so we can't blame everything on the sportsman. I had a pretty good race. I started 6th. I ended up finishing 5th. I swear, Josh, every race this year I've started on the outside. I'll tell you what, the outside was not good this week. I don't think they put the sticky stuff down this week. The PBJ, as you call it, Josh. I think they put that down this week. But my car was good. It ran pretty good this week, and I was able to get a top 5 one piece, and that's always my goal when I go to Wall Stadium. If you can leave there with a top 5 in one piece, you had a good night. Johnny Carpenter was able to get a win. It was nice to see him get a win in his red 82 because that car had some damage a couple weeks ago. It had the rear clip got bent on it, and they had to take a week off of that car and run their backup car last week. So they made the repairs of that car, and they came back, and they were super fast, and they were able to win that race. It was a good race in the end. Elliott finished 2nd. Mikey Montano was 3rd. Brian O'Shea had to use his pink backup car this week, Josh, because his car was bent from last week too. What happened, just to get back to why there were so many wrecked factory stocks, including mine, last week Tim Ajak was leading the race, 2 weeks ago I should say, and his engine blew up, and we all just slid on his oil. It was like a Talladega style wreck, and it was bad. A lot of cars got beat up pretty good.
I heard Brian bent the front clip and busted a few other important things on his primary.
His primary car was a little bent, so he showed up with his pink car. I tell you what, that pink car was fast, though. He did a 15.9 in practice, but in the feature he said it got too tight, and it didn't turn as good as his other car, and I was able to finish right on his back bumper. So it was a good night. It was a good race. Elliott made an exciting pass in lap traffic. Tim, did you see that right at the end?
Yeah, that was definitely the move of the night.
Mikey Montano left him a little too much room on a lap car. Now he just went 3 wide with the lap car and Mikey on the back straightaway. He was able to pull the pass off. So that was pretty much the most exciting part of the night, not the night, but our race,
Okay.
All right, Josh, here's with the top 10 for the factory stock guys.
All right, so as you mentioned, Scott, John Carpenter got the win. Elliott Wall finished second, followed by Mike Montano, Brian O'Shea, Scott Riggleman, John Bowers, Nick Kilmer, Brian Osborne, Kevin Flores, and Jerry Koenig, who actually I haven't seen Jerry there much.
Oh, yeah, we should welcome Jerry back. Jerry is back racing. He's had some health issues. He finally got off oxygen, and he bought Elliott Wall's championship car. Elliott Wall's car from last year. Elliott built a new car this year.
Mm-hmm.
Jerry bought that. He peeled the 17s off, put 01s on, and he ran good. He had a good night. He had to start last because he hasn't been there all week, and he was able to get a top 10. He turned some pretty impressive times in practice. So, yeah, Jerry Cohen's back racing with us. That's pretty cool.
Another quick shout-out, Mike Baldwin, Animal, was back racing, it looks like, with you guys.
Yeah, this is his second week back. He's driving for Scott Purcell in the 23 car. That car runs good, too. They had a couple gremlins with it. They had some transmissions issues with it the first night they had it. And they'll get that car going good. It's a beautiful race car. He did a great job building that car. Scott builds great race cars, and he just doesn't like driving them himself, so he usually puts Mike Baldwin, Animal in it, or a couple other friends he has he'll put in it.
I want to say I really appreciate the guys that build the cars, but for whatever reason are not into driving them. They just like to see them out there and doing well, because I at heart, I'm a driver. I couldn't just sit there.
Me too. As I'm getting older, and because I have the race shop I have, I really am enjoying working on the car more now than I normally do. But you're right, I work on it so I can drive it.
100%. I get it. I couldn't just sit there. I mean, I don't mind, for the powder puff loaning it out here, or mechanics race. But yeah, no, I want to be out there in the action. That's right. There's nothing like it. So
well, Scott, if you could hold on for another 5 years, you can retire then, and then Bailey or Alexis could drive your car for you. So. Yeah,
I can see something like that happening.
All right, so that wraps up the factory stocks. Who do we have left? Who came after that?
The modifieds, the mighty modifieds.
All right. Now, I heard that was a fairly exciting race.
They did time trials, and I'm assuming the 14, because after my race, I loaded up real quick and I did walk up and watch the end of the modified race, and the 14 car was dominating. Blake Barney's not racing. He caught a mono. The weirdest thing for not racing. And it's weird because he's there and he's hanging out. And I said, Blake, why aren't you driving? He said it's something, if you get mono, it does something to your spleen. And if you get in an accident and your spleen takes a hard hit, it can explode or something like that. He was trying to tell me. I don't know. So he says he's out of the car until October 24th or something like that.
Wow.
So they put Jack Ely in the car. Jack Ely's a second-generation driver. Might even be a third-generation driver for all I know. He lives right here in Wall. But he chose to start his racing career at a very early age out at Mahoney Valley Speedway, and he just stayed out there. He's able to get a modified ride out there, and he races with Eric Beers and all them out there. And so, yeah, he made his career out in Mahoney Valley, Evergreen, stuff like that, ROC Tour. And him and Blake are good friends. So I guess Blake's grandfather wanted to keep racing even though Blake couldn't get in the seat. So he's like, let's put our buddy Jack Ely in it. And unfortunately, at the Cliff Cross race, he was involved in an accident early, so he didn't really have a chance to show his stuff. But this week he did. I mean, he timed very well. Did he start on the pole?
Yes, he did.
Started on the pole, and he led it every lap. And he won the race. And by the end of the race, he was a good half straightaway ahead of the field. There was some exciting moments, though. He had to pick his way through some pretty heavy lap traffic, and he did get squeezed a couple of times by lap traffic. So it wasn't a cakewalk by any means. He had to hold off a very fast Anthony Sesley behind him as well. Anthony was running very well. Anthony had one of his better runs of the year. He's getting that 16 family-owned car pretty fast again, too. And I think we'll see him in victory lane soon also. But yeah, Jack Ely was able to win. And it was pretty cool that he won because it was a retro night, Josh. And the red 14 is about as retro you can get. That's been racing over there since the 50s. To see the red, that red number 15 in victory lane on retro night, it kind of fit perfect. And if you know Jack Ely, he's one of those guys that has like one of the old school mustaches and stuff like that, like the kids are doing in the Cup Series and the NASCAR Series. Now so you got the retro mustache going too, so it was kind of fit that team won that race.
That's pretty awesome. And So that was his first modified win ever, or just at Wall?
No, I just think at Wall Stadium. I'm pretty
Okay.
sure he's won Pony Valley, but I'm not 100% sure. But it was definitely his first one at Wall Stadium, where his family grew up racing. So it's pretty cool that he's got his win over there now.
And it definitely, like you said, looks like that 14 is hooked up. They found something that works.
It's flying.
So
all right, here's what the top 10 of the modifieds, Josh.
Yeah, so Jack Ely, then Derek Hopkinson, Anthony Sesley, spotted for by our own Tim Riggleman, Stephen Reed, Andrew Kraus, Kyle Sisko, Tyler Truex, Kenny Van Wickle, Kevin Davison, and Jason Treat.
And Tyler Truex, for his second week in a row, was driving Bobby Borwick's number 18 car. They teamed up for the Cliff Class race because Tyler has no motor right now. He had motor issues with his car, and it's back at the engine builders. And the Borwicks put him in their car. So that was 2 weeks in a row that he was in the 18 car. I think that makes a pretty good team right there. I like to see that team combination keep going, where two families join together to field a modified, and it makes it easier for both of them. They can split the expenses and stuff like that.
Right.
I think that's a good combination. I like them. I like to see them finish out the year like that. I think it would be cool.
Well, only time will tell at this point. Everything I heard was that it was a pretty good race, and they went green flag the whole time. So that was.
Yeah, there was a lot of cars getting lapped in that race because they went green the whole time, and some guys were on. That's the bad thing with the modifieds. We talk about it all the time with the tire rule. You don't know who's on good tires and who's on bad tires. Ron Freese was second in points, and I seen him before his race. I said, "You going to leave here at the point lead?" He's like, "I'm out of tires." He's like, "I'm on junk tires," and his bank tires were all gone. So,
right.
And he wasn't live. I think he got lapped twice. So unfortunately, Ron.
That's what makes that stupid.
Yeah, I agree with you, Timmy. Tim, that's a perfect example. You always say the modified's the elite division. There, they should at least be able to buy 3. And like you said, it's the elite division. Buy 4 tires. If you want to race that division, be prepared to buy 4 tires a week. This way, it's even for everybody.
Yeah. There have been a number of close points battles going on, and I know we talked about Neil Rutt III in the Sportsman. Now I think he dropped to second, but is only, I want to say, like 7 points out or something.
I think his father told me over at O'Shea's when I was picking that junk car up that was 9 points behind.
Oh, okay. I was close. But yeah, so it's shaping up to be some pretty good points battles.
Yeah.
And Champions Night, or the final points race, which that's going to be double points again, right?
Yes.
Okay, so that could.
And they did announce the divisions that have dropped races will be dropped after this week. Points will be retallied, so you'll know where you're at before championship night. They're not going to do it like you remember they had that problem with Rob Silvers in the Legend Car championship battle.
You can't
they figured it out after the race, and they told him one thing before the race, and he did what they said, and he should have been the champion in his mind. And then when they refigured it, it was different, So they're going to have the points figured out after this week before championship night.
So you can't drop
another stupid rule.
Yeah, I agree, Tim. I mean, I agree. They're dropping one race for the factory stock guys. Which I don't see why we're doing it. We were only scheduled for 11 races. Wondering that puts us at 10. Now we drop one. Now it's a 9-race season. I don't like it either.
I
have a 12, so I should be happy we're dropping a race because I'm dropping a 12th. But I don't like it. It's only a 9-race season. It's kind of a.
But that means you also can't drop your final race.
Championship this year should have an asterisk next to it because it was only a 9-race schedule.
But Scott, let's say there's 25 cars for the final race, and you get caught up in an early wreck and finish last. You can't drop that race.
No, you can't drop. You can't drop a disqualification naturally, and you can't drop championship night.
Okay.
Yep.
Figures. Okay. All right.
Next down the hill was the late models. We had 7 late models in the limited late model division.
Mm-hmm.
It was pretty cool. We had a first-time ever winner in Buddy Miller. Buddy Miller bought a beautiful late model to the racetrack this year, number 56. They keep it over Billy Cole's. Buddy Miller is a fabulous fabricator, welder. He builds chopper motorcycles, Josh, that are awesome. He's real good at fabricating race cars. Him and Billy Cole have become friends, and he keeps the car over there and helps Billy, doing all the welding over there at Billy's shop. And it was cool to see Buddy Miller get his first win. I was excited for him to get that win.
Cool. He's off by one number, though.
It should be a 57.
Yeah. That's the cool way to go.
That race, that division's getting better and better.
Yeah, it is. Rick Giannino's racing, Tim. That's a blast from the past.
Yeah,
We raced with him up at Flemington. He's a Riverhead guy. He puts his all into it. He says he actually has a brand new car ordered. The car he's running now is an old stock clip front end car, and he's
does it have a Scorpion race engine in it?
I don't know. I asked him about that guy Ricky too. Ricky's race cars. He said that he's still building race cars, but he's not helping him. I don't know if it has a Scorpion engine. That's a good idea. I'll have to ask him.
Interesting.
Gosh, at Flemington for a while, he didn't have an RBR race car and a Scorpion race engine in it.
That was a hot ticket.
You didn't have it, yeah.
You were just there to fill the field?
Yeah.
Okay.
All right, Josh, just give us all 7.
Yeah, absolutely. So Buddy Miller, as you mentioned, Rick Giannino, Chris Silvestri, Steve Puglisi, Mike Tillett, Greg Gastelou, and Andy Gamble.
All right, and this weekend going on at Wall Stadium, it's Ladies' Night. I don't know if I'm pretty sure.
It was retro night. And,
it was retro night. How'd that go, Tim?
It was
okay. Wear your bell bottoms over there.
I wore no underwear in honor of that. The food was loaded tater tots, which you can either get it loaded with. You got a choice of cheese, bacon, and chili for the tater tots.
Ooh.
And the sandwich was Sloppy Joe, which Gary McGuinn got one. He said it was excellent. If he would have been at home, we would have ate 4 of them. They were that good. And homemade chicken noodle soup with retro.
Yeah, honestly, if it was a bit cooler, that would have gone over really well.
Yeah, they kind of struck out weather-wise for that,
Well, the weather wasn't kind for the racing weekend for multiple reasons. But
Tim, did you see anything else they did for Retro Night? Did they have any games in the grandstands or anything like that, or did they give any bandanas away or anything like that?
Not that I know of. I didn't see anything. We didn't come home with anything like overabundance of bandanas or anything. So
were they playing like 60s music in the grandstands or anything like that?
I honestly don't know. By the time I'd gotten there a little later than normal, the racing had already started, so that might have all been over by the time I got there.
Yeah, so this weekend's Ladies' Night, and usually Ladies' Night they give the ladies, don't quote me on this, but I'm pretty sure they'll give ladies a discount to get in and stuff like that.
I think it's $10 for ladies to get in.
$10, and sometimes they give them flowers and stuff like that. And all the girl race car drivers will be in the grandstands driving signing autographs. So that's always pretty cool. So yeah, definitely come out to the racetrack this weekend. And for Ladies' Night, Ladies' Nights is always an exciting night.
All right. So that covers everything that we have, I think, coming up at least immediately. We went over the banquet situation and all that. Go ahead, Tim.
Speaking about Ladies' Night, Josh, when we were little, remember they used to give out ladies' passes?
Yeah.
Like my dad
Josh, like say if you came to the racetrack to race, they would have gave you a pass for Lisa for the grandstands for your wife.
Okay. Well, if she wasn't selling tickets at the back gate?
Yeah, exactly. And it used to work good. We used to go there with my mom, me and Tim, and my dad would go there and get there first, and he'd sign in to get in the pits, and they would give him a ladies pass for my mom because my mom had to go in the grandstands because me and Tim were too young. So it got, it kind of made it so the wives didn't complain about going to the races every week because they were getting it for free and they were letting their husband race. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. That's something that should come back. That'd be cool.
Yeah,
but you couldn't call it a ladies' pass. It'd have to be a companion pass now.
I'm not going down that road. Not going down that road. All right. So what else did we have on the list here?
I just want to talk about a little bit about Bridgeport too.
Yep.
I woke up Sunday morning. I had a good race at Wall Saturday. My car left there in one piece. I just got to do general maintenance on it. So they were having the big Danny Serrano Memorial Race, 100-lap dirt modified race down at Bridgeport, and after that they were having something they were calling the 4-cylinder versus 8-cylinder race. It was of 4-cylinder enduro type cars and 8-cylinder type enduro cars, and they were going to race them together. So I have that white 7X that I run in the 8-cylinder enduros. So I loaded that thing up and I headed down to Bridgeport. And when I left here, it was beautiful. And I said to Nancy, I said, do you want me to load your car up too and you can race? And she's like, I don't know. I'm still not feeling great. And there's a chance of rain. I'm like, there's a chance of rain? I'm like, Nancy, it's beautiful out. So I checked my phone and it was only like 37% chance of rain. So I'm like, I'm going down there. 37% chance of rain ain't stopping me. I drive all the way down there. Beautiful ride down there, Josh. I rode right down Route 70. All the farm stands were open selling their pumpkins and mums and all that stuff and junk hay bales and stuff like that. And it was warm out. It was a little warm for a fall day. All the leaves were changing colors. It was a beautiful ride down there. Well, I get there. I pull into the racetrack, and it felt like I was at a real cool race event. It was like a turkey derby. It was like a Thompson World Series. Bridgeport's a very big facility, big parking lots, big pits, big grandstands, big track. Pull in there.
Like a race of champions type of field.
Like a race of champions field, Tim. You're exactly right. The parking lot was packed with campers, Josh. There was tons of campers. You could see where the people partied the night before because there was beer cans on these campsites and there was still fires on. People were barbecuing and cooking breakfast and lunch and stuff like that. So when I pulled in there, I'm like, this is going to be a cool day. So I called Nancy. I said, if you want, I can try to call Jason or Todd Deej or somebody to go over and get the race car and bring it down. She's like, nah, now it's showing 55% chance of rain, Scott. I'm like, no way. And it was still sunny as could be down there, so I didn't think nothing of it. Then we pull in the pits, Josh. Man, what a mud hole. It rained the night before, and the pits were just mud. And I said, you know what? I'm not dragging my tow truck down here with another car. I found like the last dry spot in the pits to park. There was people literally like saying, I'm just going to park in the parking lot and drive my car. And it was so muddy, and the bigger race teams.
Next time we'll have to borrow Scott's flatbed, put junk hay bales on to go down there and sell them to everybody.
But that's what I was just getting down to, Tim. The modifieds have been there all weekend because it was a 3-day show. I felt bad for those guys. They got the big, nice tractor trailers and the toter homes and all that stuff, and now they're in mud, and they were running to a farm stand down the street and buying all the hay bales that the guys selling for Halloween stuff, and people were putting hay in their spots. There was people with big tarps. People were going to get plywood and parking on the plywood. Like, it was muddy, And just as it started drying out, they did get the con season. The one exciting thing that happened down there is, Tim, Jimmy Blewett was flying down there. He was like a half a second faster than the field the day before for qualifying, and he had like a half straightaway lead on the field in his heat race, and he got a left rear flat. So he didn't qualify. He pulled in the infield. They never threw the yellow, so he never had a chance to go change the tire or anything. They had a lot of modifieds on there, like 56 or 57 modifieds. He had to start 17th in his consolation race, but I guess a couple cars didn't make it back out, so he really started 14th in his consolation race, but they're only taking the top 4. And he only had a short amount of laps to get there, and he got it done. Josh, he 3 wide, 4 wide. He got up to like 4th in like 3 laps, and then he got up. He kept racing hard, and he finished 2nd, so he made it in. That was pretty exciting, It was just one of those days for me with my car. Every time they pulled us up to the track, when they pulled it up for practice, we were getting ready to pull it on the track. It rained. They sent us back to our pits, but that was just a little bit of a spritz, a little sprinkle, and that went away. Then they had match races for the modifieds, and then we were lined up to go back out. And as soon as our tires touched the racetrack, it started pouring, Josh. I mean, downpouring. So we pulled back. I put the car right on the trailer and sat in my truck. It was raining so hard. Well, they had no choice but to call. They're like, even if the rain stopped right now, it's going to take us 3 hours to get the track prepped again. So they called it. I waited a little bit longer for the rain to stop just to get out of my truck to strap the car down. And by then we couldn't even get out of the pits. The traffic was so backed up trying to get out of there. It took us an hour and a half to get out of the racetrack.
Wow. Okay.
There was that many people there trying to get out of there at once. There was people getting stuck in the parking lot. I felt so bad for the racetrack. They did everything in their power to make a great event for the Danny Serrano Memorial Race. It was perfect. And then it rains on them. That's the tough thing about it.
Did they have a lot of fans in the stands?
Oh, yeah, Tim. There's a lot of fans there. They had music playing. They had like a band there, food everywhere. They had T-shirt sales, like the Do It for Danny T-shirts. Tim, it was awesome. It was an awesome day, and it was ruined by rain. I feel so bad for them.
Wow. I just feel so bad for him because they got hurt a lot last year, and Evergreen got hurt pretty bad last year with rain, and like you said, just it was going to be too much to even try to pack it down.
They are going to make it up. They're just not sure exactly when. They said it's going to be in the month of November, but they're not.
They said they called it a complete event, but they were still going to run the 100 lapper.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then for us with the 4-cylinder, 8-cylinder race, they're going to have 2 races for us when we go back. The one we paid for this Sunday, and then one we're going to pay for when we go back.
Right. So at least you guys still get the.
I have a feeling it's going to fall on my Triple B Greg Biffle race. Then I got to decide if I want to go all the way down to North Carolina or go run Bridgeport.
I might tailgate you on the way down to.
About 100%. I'm waiting to see when this Bridgeport date comes out.
But
another cool thing that happened too this weekend, Tim mentioned it, the Race of Champions. It's not what it used to be. It was out at Lake Erie Speedway. I just want to touch base on it real quick because Matt Hirschman won his 8th Race of Champions modified race, which is.
I watched that on TV. They didn't.
Oh, did you really? It was on pay-per-view.
Yeah. It was on Speed 51.
Okay, awesome.
So he didn't win it by just riding around like he normally did. He actually got into a.
I heard he got into an accident like around lap 35.
And he had to pit. And he actually had to race the rest of the day, so he didn't. He actually raced for that one.
Now was that his 6th in a row or something like it was? I think it was his 8th total and 6th in a row.
It's got to be. Yeah, I mean, how many could he not lost between then and now?
I did hear him say. I did hear him say that records are made to be broken. He's like, good luck trying to break this one.
Yeah.
Paid like $12,500 to win, so that was good for Matt. Tim, you ever been to that track?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I spotted for John there, and I spotted for Hot Pockets in the Conci there.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Do you think that track's a good fit for a Race of Champions type race?
I
wish
like
it was a little bit closer.
I was spoiled with going to it at Pocono. You know what I mean? But as far as any track that they don't race on every single Saturday is where you want that race. That's a beautiful facility. It's just really far away.
Yeah.
It was beautiful when I was. It was brand new when I was there. I really don't know what condition it is now, but it's a nice racetrack. It has enough property to hold a Race of Champions type field campers and.
Yeah, I did see pictures, and it seemed like there was a lot of campers and stuff there. And it seems like the town embraces it, too. A lot of people tell me the town has signs up all over the place and billboards.
Yeah, they did back in the day, yeah. There was a lot of good cars there. Just, I wish more tour guys would go to that, but.
I got to get going soon. So one of the other things I want to touch base on, there was a couple of NASCAR things that popped up in the headlines. I'm not going to get too deep into it. I just want to talk about some of the NASCAR headlines. One of them, this comes up every once in a while, but it seems to be true this time. In 2021, the spring Bristol race, they want to make it a dirt race. How do you feel about that, Josh?
I mean, I wouldn't do it at Bristol, but I mean, I don't know if you're going to try it. You got to try it somewhere.
Yeah, I just don't think Bristol will make a good dirt track for those big, heavy cars.
Yeah, I don't know if they're, is there going to be a top line or is there going to be a low line? Or are they just going to slide right up into the wall or then slide back down? I don't know.
How I quite feel about that myself, but who knows? I mean, we didn't like the Roval idea at Daytona. I still don't like the Roval idea at Daytona, but people seem to love it. So we'll see what happens with this dirt race that's supposed to be coming
I'll take the one at Daytona over the Charlotte one.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Mainly because I just think there's more to it, and at least like the Rolex 24 at Daytona, runs that same course, whereas the one at Charlotte, I don't know, it just seems a little too contrived for me.
Here's something I like to be far-fetched in between, but there is 2 places they could finish and run at. Now, where Tony Stewart owns that track at Eldora, there is, if you Google Earth, that guy made a mile dirt track there.
Yeah, sure did.
He just never finished it. It's still there. He just never finished it. So if this becomes a success, maybe they could finish that and have it there. Or
that guy Earl, he made that 1 mile dirt track. He did it kind of quietly, and a lot of people don't know that it's there. But he had somebody like Steve Kinzer, or one of the top sprint car sprint car drivers come there and test it. Did like a private test session, and it was so fast for a sprint car. The sprint car driver just told him, "Don't even finish it. You're going to kill people on this racetrack. We don't need a racetrack this big for sprint cars."
And those guys are adrenaline junkies with like a death wish, and for one to say that,
so that's why that track never got finished.
Another one that was built and never finished was the one at Adirondack Speedway. We went through it the tour many years ago, and the little track was in the middle of it.
Right.
And the big track was there. It was just never paved.
Right.
Now, if you go on Google Maps, you can still see it today. It's still there. It just never got finished. Something to think about in the future.
They also can go to like that Springfield track that the ARCA cars already run on,
Yeah. Maybe horse track.
Do it at Dover, right, Josh? Dover's got a horse track in the middle. Throw some clay on that thing.
Yeah. I mean, if you're gonna have that stupid thing in the middle of the track, use it for something better. God, I hate that.
Another thing, announced in NASCAR world today. Like a lot of stuff came out about NASCAR today. No race at Chicagoland next year, and no race at Kentucky. I feel bad for the racetracks and the people that live in that area, but it's two races that weren't very exciting to begin with.
Two cookie cutter tracks that really don't make a difference.
Actually, we're talking about that. I want to bring this up. I have it on the show doc, and I just feel we need to talk about it. The whole that they're going to change Auto Club Speedway into a short track.
I heard something about that.
Why though, Josh? From a business point of view, it's a great idea because somebody offered to buy like a lot of property or lease a lot of property for like parking tractor trailers and stuff like that. So now they can sublease that property out for millions and millions of dollars and still have a racetrack. They just got to make the racetrack smaller. So they think they're going to make the racetrack smaller, have exciting racing like Martinsville and Bristol, so it makes the product better. Plus, they're getting another income from the property they're not going to use now by making the track smaller and making it like an industrial park.
Right.
It's a win-win for them, they think.
I see and I comprehend that, but I mean, for me, I think that Fontana is like the sister track to Michigan.
Right.
Very similar. I think it's a very fast track. I think it's a really cool track, personally. I know it doesn't always provide the best racing action, but I think it's...
You know what? And we see this in NASCAR racing. It comes in spurts. Like right now, short track and rolls are the popular thing. I mean, back in the 60s, like the super speedways were the big thing, the Daytonas, Talladegas, and people got sick of them, and it was the mile and a halves were the big thing. So everybody started building mile and a halves. Now nobody wants to see a race on a mile and a half. Now that you build another Bristol Martinsville, people are going to get sick of Bristol and Martinsville now. Now they want a dirt track. Now they want a road course. We're going to get sick of the road courses again. Like road courses are hot right now. It just goes in spurts. It's weird.
For me, it's tough because I like Fontana the way it is. I do like that track.
They still racing any cars out there, Josh, or now?
I don't recall if they're still out there, but I do remember that's where Greg Moore was killed.
Right, that's what I mean. Now if they make it a short track, now they're going to lose. They can't run Indy cars now.
I know where there's
I don't know if they do it or not anyway. But
I know where there's a short track in North Wilkesboro that needs them.
That'd be a perfect dirt track.
Well, that's the other point I want to get to is instead of changing a big track into a short track, why not just go back to a short track that could use it?
There. Well, they tried getting into Nashville and it didn't quite work out yet.
It's all about market. They need a racetrack in California.
They want to keep it at Nashville, but like you said, if you want to race a short track, there's Irwindale in California. That's a beautiful racetrack. Have a cup race there.
Yeah, and Irwindale whores themselves out to anybody willing to do a photo shoot.
You want to make a rap video there? Come on over.
Oh, wait! You want to film something? Great, yeah. Give us this money and have at it. They do not care. They will take any money that is thrown their way. It was how many? I mean, like anything that you've watched, from Monster Garage to commercials to, like you said, rap videos.
Even Jesse James West Coast, he was out there with like a figure 8 car or something, and
yeah, it's just they're insane. So
I think that's even where Hulk Hogan's son did the drifting too with that Dodge Viper that he wrecked and stuff too.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised. Yeah, because they hit the Formula D or whatever. I think goes out there too. So
yeah. One other quick thing I wanted to mention about NASCAR. they announced today that this is going to be Chad Knaus's last year as a crew chief. He's going to move up to the general manager position for, I don't know, performance or race team performance or something. They're taking him off the road and bringing him in-house. So this is going to be Chad Knaus's last year as a crew chief.
Oh, interesting, weird, but okay. I don't know. I don't know how I'm supposed to feel about that.
Yeah. And sometimes these guys move to these positions, and then you know what's going to happen. Whoever replaces him is going to get fined or suspended, and then he's going to have to come back out and crew chief again, and they'll make a big deal that he's coming back and crew chief. And Greg Zipadelli does it all the time at Tony Stewart's, at Stewart-Haas, He's like the manager, race team manager, and whenever a crew chief gets suspended, he has to come out and fill the role in while the crew chief's on suspension.
What was it? There are two things I want. Looks like Ross Chastain got confirmed
for the 42 car. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, I know that was up in the air. I know Noah Gragson is still worried about where he's going to be next year, and he was fighting the other night for. He came in second, which was a good showing because they've been struggling for a while. So I mean, I don't know if that's going to be enough for it, but he's hoping that will give him a boost for contract extension. And then we saw that Michael Jordan and Denny Hamlin are going to have Bubba Wallace as their driver for their own team.
Yeah, they bought the charter from the Geico team.
Okay.
Jermaine.
I wonder if they're going to use Jordan's number.
I heard they are. I heard they're trying to change the 13 to a 23. That'd be cool.
Yeah.
The only thing I can say about this, though, we see this a lot where big sport figures come into NASCAR, and they never last. Other than Coach Gibbs, they never last long. We've seen Brett Favre come in with Dale Jarrett. That didn't last long. We've seen Troy Aikman and Roger Staubach come in. That didn't last long. Terry Bradshaw came in. He didn't last long. It's like everybody's like, I can't believe Michael Jordan's spending his money on this. I looked him up. He's like worth like $4 billion or something like that.
Yeah,
but
he makes like $3 million a year on shoes. He doesn't even do anything.
And he's not spending his money. Like when Troy Aikman and Roger Staubach did it, they had that big TV company, like it was like DP or something like that. It was like a fancy TV you could buy. It was their money, They were just names involved, They were actually making money. And as soon as that sponsor was done, they were done,
He might have enough money that he needs to lose some money too.
He might. He
had to get into a different tax bracket or something.
Yeah. There ain't no better way to lose money.
When the sponsors come out, they're going to be like his personal sponsors. He's spending somebody else's money, He did tweet, great 28th place finish, Bubba Wallace.
Somebody, I saw that. I saw.
But you know what? I'm just glad that's, there's a team closing up, and Denny Hamlin and Michael Jordan are saving that team. People are like, Bubba Wallace doesn't deserve that ride. I don't care who's driving the car. It's making jobs for people in the industry down there,
Right.
I'd rather see Michael Jordan and Denny Hamlin save that team and put Bubba Wallace in, and then the team just go away and everybody that works there loses their job,
Yeah.
Whenever you can get an infusion of new money coming from somebody, even if it only lasts a couple of years, it's better than not having it at all,
And look at the exposure that and they were talking about.
Yeah, it's gonna be huge.
They were talking about cup racing on ESPN. When's the last time you heard them talk about cup racing?
Right.
Yeah, that was back when Bob Jenkins was announcing.
Did you hear from Freddie Kraft at all? Do you know if he's going to go over there with Bubba Wallace?
I haven't talked to him personally.
Maybe reach out to him so we can have an answer for next.
Yeah, the last I had heard, he wasn't 100% sure yet.
Okay.
It hasn't gotten that far down the line yet.
All right. Before we get to what have we learned, I just want to. I told you last week I want to get to my reviews and recommendations. 2 weeks ago, before I went on vacation, I showed you the book I got, the Lenny Bowler book, about his career of owning NASCAR modifieds. Tell you, I got that book a little too early for my trip, Josh. It came on that Monday, before we were ready to leave. I pretty much had it read before I left. It was an awesome book. I did finish reading it on the flight down there, but I had it completely read before I headed home. What an awesome book, Tim. And I'm sure you know most of the stories in there. Talks about a lot about even the end, like when Michael Bowler's running the team, how it's still the same crew guys and they still work off the same jigs. One thing I learned in that book that I didn't know, Tim, maybe you knew this. I even talked to Kevin Ayers about it. He didn't know about it. Did you know Lenny Bowler had a Busch Grand National car and he would take it down to Speed Weeks every year?
Yeah, you said that last week when you were talking about it. I knew he had it. I knew he had one of those, but I always thought it was like a Busch North car or something. I never knew it was a.
Yeah, he just used it when he went down there. What happened was it was a side project for Ron Bouchard when Ron Bouchard was doing the Cup deal, and it was like a Pontiac, and then Ron Bouchard drive for Buick, so he couldn't drive it anymore. So he pretty much just left it with Lenny, and Lenny pretty much left it up to the highest bidder. Whoever wanted to go drive it down south would drive it, And they had a few good runs with it down there with the driver, drivers like Robbie Crouch and Ron Bouchard when he did drive it, and had a couple other guys drive it for him down there. I never knew that. I never knew he had a Busch car. And then when Ron Bouchard did have his Busch Series car with that Jack Beebe guy with the yellow and white number 47s, Len Bowler was part of that crew chief too. They were paying him to maintain it, work on it, and everything like that. So I never knew that he was at that level too. So that was pretty good in that book, I also didn't know he had cancer several times. So other than trying to make a living being a race car owner and builder and parts dealer, he had a battle cancer. It was pretty cool. Like he did odd jobs, like he would salt roads in the winter and, whatever he had to do to make ends meet. He built a couple like hot dog trucks, and they said one of the hot dog trucks he built is still on the highway heading out to Cape Cod. So if you ever go out there, that's a hot dog truck he built. Like he's a real interesting guy, and his deals were all the same. If you wanted to drive for him, basically you had to bring two motors, pay the tire bill, and you got 30% of what the car made.
Yeah, he's an interesting. I've become really good friends with Michael over the years, and the shop is really interesting. You would love it up there.
His family was in the chicken business, poultry.
They don't work on the chicken coop anymore. They actually added onto the house garage 3 times. You can see the phases where the house garage was, and then they added on, and then they added on, and that's the chicken coop's still there, but it's a time capsule in there. You would love it there, Scott. You spend all day there.
Tim, is that like that Winchester house?
They just come in doors and windows.
Yeah, and all the race cars, all the famous race cars are still there. Like the one that I think it was Leo Clary got killed in, that's still there in the woods. And, I sent you pictures of all that when I was there, Scott.
Yeah. Even like his trucks and trailers, like everything he built, Josh.
Wow.
His trucks, he built, like all his haulers and trailers, he's all built them himself. But one thing I learned too, his modifieds are different than everybody else modified. And one of the things that stand out about his modifieds is the newer modifieds like we see around here today, the chassis rails go underneath the rear end, Josh.
Okay.
His went up and over the rear end. His chassis. Still today, his cars, the chassis rails go up and over the rear end. They said it's pretty much a copy of a Dillon late model. They said he spent a lot of time out at Dillon's place one winter, and he pretty much seen how those chassis were built, and that's pretty much how he builds his modified. It's pretty identical to a Dillon late model, but without a late model body on it. So that was something else I learned out about him too. He liked the setup of a Dillon late model, and he brought it over to the modified side. Another thing I didn't know about him, I didn't know he built his own motors too. He always had a backup car. He always had a second car. He would always, sometimes he'd bring 2 cars to track, like an A car and a B car, just to try to make a little bit of money with a B car. The B car always had a motor he built, and then so he was a good engine builder. He can build engines himself. He would buy used engines off of Richie Evans and stuff like that and tune them up himself. Like they said, he could do anything on that car he could build.
Wow.
Not only that, but the trucks too. He would drive the haulers, and if they break down, he'd fix them. Real interesting guy. A couple of stories. When Tony Hirschman, Matt Hirschman's father, drove for him, he was seen every week taking the seat cover out of the car and bringing the seat cover home with him.
Huh.
And they asked him why he was bringing the seat cover home. And he said because Lenny loves cats, and Lenny would let the cat sleep in the seat of the race car. And Tony Hirschman was sick of showing up at the racetrack every time and the seat being full of cat hair.
I can add to that story too. When John drove for Mario Fiore, Mario told the story that Mike McLaughlin was driving for Lenny Bowler, and then McLaughlin was going to drive for Mario in a couple races, and he brought his seat from the 3 car over to the 44 shop. And they had to leave it outside because it stunk like a litter box.
Like a litter box. Well, Tony Hirschman said the final straw was when he got in there and there was like the cat had kittens in there and like all the afterbirth stuff was. Another funny, Mike. You brought Mike McLaughlin up. Yeah, Mike McLaughlin did drive for him, and Mike McLaughlin lived there when he drove for him. And Mike McLaughlin said 90% of the time he just slept in his car. It was just easier for him to sleep in his car because the house was filled with stuff. He said every day when he would go in the house to take a shower, he would have to take race car engine parts out of the bathtub. He would spend a half hour cleaning the bathtub before he could take a shower. And then he would go in the next morning thinking the shower's all clean because he cleaned it the day before and there'd be engine parts back in the shower. Lenny used to clean his engines in the shower in the house. Like, that was his parts cleaner.
I guess if it works.
It's an awesome book. Really, really good. Like I said, it's on coastal181.com. I'm actually the next book I'm going to order. I think I'm going to order they have a Ronnie Bouchard book, The Kid from Fitchburg, it's called. I think I'm going to order that one next, and I'm going to order that racetrack book, when it tells you about all the racetracks in America that we always like to refer to on the show.
A little side note to the Max McLaughlin ran the last tour race.
He finished well.
Finished fourth, I think, in Gary Putnam's car. So
yeah, I hope he keeps driving that. That'd be a good combination.
Yeah.
Cool.
All right, guys, you ready for what have we learned? I want to get going here.
I'm going to do 2 things real quick. I have a much shorter quarter midget list and also a pretty short Sunday series list I'm going to hit real quick. This is definitely not like that giant Nationals meet that they had. Yeah. So, real quick, for the quarter midgets, the Friday Night Lights, the red rookie A-main, Michael Hodson, George Robbins, Brody Loesch, Molly Coleman, and A.J. Moran. The blue rookie A-main, Brody Gianella, Landon Farris, Tyler Fiore, Davey Robbins, and Madison Kilkenny. The senior animal A-main, Zach Leonardo, Ted Olski, Justin Farris. The junior Honda A-main, and I think I'm already halfway here, Anthony Kane, Cole Farris, David Morrison, Jake Mullen, and Ryan Patterson. The senior Honda A-main, Matthew Kovacs, Brandon Sullivan, Thomas Schwartz, Jojo Leonardo, Gianni Monteleone, Mason White, and Justin Farris. The heavy Honda A-main, Zach Leonardo, Ted Olski, Danny Schenk, Bo Loesch, and Shannon Schwartz. The light 160 A-main, Jojo Leonardo, Matthew Kovacs, Gianni Monteleone, Thomas Schwartz, Anthony Kane, and Brandon Sullivan. And the heavy 160 A-main, Jackson White, Zach Leonardo, Ted Olski, and Danny Schenk. And that covers that. Now I'm going to move on to the Sunday series real quick. I want to thank Tom Irvin for sending this in again. We have the modified micro stocks with Mike Brennan, Josh Barry, Jim Van Dyne, Tom Irvin, John Almick, Brian Russell, Mike Fox Jr., Richie Tazinski, Jay Smith, Dave Stout, John Paulson was DNS. So that's a pretty good field for them. The Sportsman Blue, we have the Aiden Greats, Alex Rogers, Alexis Riggleman, and Bailey Riggleman. The Junior Champs, we have Will Cloud, Tyler Ritchie, Jared Okerson. The Sportsman Red, we have Kevin Davison and Howie Conk Jr. And the WF Microstocks, Richie Tazinski, Josh Berry, Mike Turton, Mike Fox Jr., then the 26A, which apparently didn't have a name, Joey Gary and Scott Fox. So that wraps up that.
Tim, how many more races you guys have over the Sunday series?
Wow, too many. I don't know.
October?
Yeah, we go, I think, to the end of October.
Oh, really?
Yeah. The car counts were definitely down. It did rain
Once
there.
school starts, right?
Yeah, it rained there on and off all day, and it was a mess. But it was good. I have to thank Mike Brennan. Mike Brennan is like...
He's a good guy.
He's the kingpin over there, and he's really taken the girls under his wing, and he's really trying to. The girls are now they're racing now. Like the go-karts, the setup makes a difference, and it's tough. It's tough. Alexis did really well. Bailey got to fourth, and she just stayed there. But Alexis really tried, and she's just a little bit off still with the other two that were out there. She's getting there though. So
there's no replacement for seat time. That's for sure.
Yeah,
that's it. I'm still getting seat time. I've been racing since I was 15 years old. All right, guys. Let's do a quick what have we learned? I learned that Josh's family fortune came from junk hay.
And junk cars. That Scott moves around. Scott, I was going to tell you, just if you want, feel free to take it to your house and tinker.
I tell you what, it's all there. We're talking about Josh's car. The junk car I was referring to, I picked up O'Shea, was Josh's factory stock. I had one of Tim O'Shea's transmissions in it, so I took it back over to Tim O'Shea so I can get his transmission back. I tell you what, Josh, I think the frame's straight in that car. I looked it over. The cage is pretty good. I mean, I would fix the bar that goes under the steering column. That's a little scary. But, I mean, it's all there. Spring shocks, rear end, the engine's there. Tim says it's seized up, but I grabbed the fan. I was able to turn it a little bit, but I don't know if it's just the water pump.
Oh, okay.
I don't know if it's water in or not, but, I mean, it's all there. It's not the way I like starting with the cars, right, Tim? It's kind of in the shape I like for getting the cars and fixing them up,
Yeah.
I think something definitely got tweaked.
But yeah, I mean, it would need a lot of work for it to be competitive factory stock now because the factory stock division has moved on from what those cars were back then. But it'd be a perfect Enduro car for what I do at Big Diamond and Grandview and Bridgeport.
Yeah, I would love to if I can. Right now I need to get some transmissions rebuilt. I need to get back to work for one. Well, let's see. I got to get these stitches out tomorrow. And yeah.
All right, Tim. What have you learned?
I learned that Josh is a mess, and
Josh's racing career is over. He just might as well just give me that car.
I learned the interesting things about what still could happen this year at Wall Stadium. I think the party in the pits would be awesome.
Yeah, it's going to be awesome.
That's a good idea. I hope that the fans get involved in that because, like I said, a lot of fans got cheated out of not going into the pits after the races. And
I've been noticing a couple fans have been sneaking in the pits after the races. I signed a few autographs.
Yeah, I kind of know. Yeah, I know how there's ways to get in, but I don't want to promote that on here. Yeah, what else? I learned something else, but I forget what it is now after making fun of Josh. But
yeah, Josh.
Actually, Scott, what time does you said October 17th for the banquet at the track? What time?
You guys said noon to 9 or 3 to 12 or something. I don't know. I forget.
We'll get that cleared up.
She pretty much said whenever, the whole day. Spend the whole day there. She doesn't care.
Well, I just, I don't want to be the weirdo that gets there like 3 hours early.
Who's going to bring the guy that brings the hot tub in on the back of the?
Elliott's already talking about that. Like
he just got rid of the bus.
I was going to just mention that. What happened with the bus?
It's going to be a good time.
What happened to the bus? Why did he get rid of the bus?
He just sold it.
He's an idiot.
He made some money off it. He really didn't need it anymore, so he sold it.
Well, he could have held on to it for one more month. And anyway, all right. So today I learned that Tim didn't wear underwear on Saturday night. And I also learned that female racers will be in the stands driving autographs next week. So, but yeah, no, this was fun. It was good to be back. Scott, you still need to, at some point, give us the whole rundown of your Florida trip and the concrete houses and all that. So
I tell you what, the weather wasn't that great on our Florida trip, but we did learn something when you're in the Florida Keys. Like, it's all islands. We were in Isla Morada, which is an island, and the weather was bad there. We just drove 2 islands down the Marathon, and the weather was perfect. And then the weather would get crappy at Marathon, and we would just move to another island. So if the weather gets bad, you just move to another island. Like, we had a boat rented for the day in Isla Morada, and the captain called us in the morning and said, listen, visibility's bad. There's storms coming in. We're going to have to cancel. We said, okay. We drove down to Marathon, rented a boat, went out on a boat. It was beautiful out. So,
now, what did you do on the boat?
Move around on the island,
What'd you do on the boat? Was it like fishing or was it just laying?
No, we just went out with another family, and we ran on one of those pontoon boats, and we just drove around in the bay, and the ocean was a little rough, so we stayed on the bay side. Went swimming and stuff like that, and you look at, they give you like a little, they tell you where the mansions are and who owns them. Like there's actually like this island in the middle of the bay, and it's owned by some bigwig from Home Depot.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so you just cruise around there. You cruise around in these fancy, you see these people with those endless pools, on like the top deck of their house where the waterfall goes down.
Yep.
And, like you kind of cruise around and check out people's houses. We did kayaking. The one scary part of the kayaking, we're going through those mangroves, and there was a shark right underneath us. The next day, we were in Marathon when we had the boat, and the next day where we were swimming, there was a shark spotted there. It was in the news. Sharks are going around pretty good down there right now. We had fun. Oh, real quick, did you guys see on Facebook that me and Nancy went antique store in the one day? And I walked into the one antique store, and there was a painting of Gil Hearn in there.
Yep, I did see that post.
So how cool is that? I'm 1,300 miles away, and there's an old painting of Gil Hearn in an antique shop. It's only $10. I was going to buy it, but the problem is, how am I going to get home on the plane? You know what I'm saying? That's the problem. So I had to be careful what I bought down there. Plus,
I guess
she's real frugal when it comes to packing her bag because we don't want to be over 40 pounds, or you got to pay like
the
50
baggage.
cents a pound. So when we flew down there, our bag was 39.5 pounds. So we weren't allowed to buy any souvenirs for the ride home.
Yeah, no, I got you. So did you run to Scrappy to buy you lunch this time or no?
No, he wasn't down there. The Truxes weren't down there. None of them were down there this time.
I just figured I'd ask because all
the people I knew down there from New Jersey weren't down there this month. They were back here in Jersey. Okay. And the one kid I know from racing in Florida who lives down there, he wasn't even down there. He was actually in Daytona. He's going for his commercial pilot's license, and he's going to school there in Daytona. I'm assuming at that airport right behind the racetrack.
That's awesome. Well, I'm glad you had a good, safe trip. Although albeit awkward getting off.
The one cool place we stayed at, Josh, this was like a dream place for us. We never thought we'd be able to afford to stay there. This resort we stayed at is called the Chica Lodge. The rooms are usually $500 a night.
Okay.
But because with this COVID stuff and Nancy being so quick to get stuff when it's cheap, we only paid $132 a night to stay at a 5-star resort on the water.
Wow.
This lodge is famous for, this was the summer getaway for the Bushes, the president and his family. There's pictures of the Bushes all over the wall. They even have a George W. Bush fishing tournament there. So it was pretty cool. I got to fish on the same fishing pier as the Bushes fish on. One funny story, like, you can't let a hillbilly like me into these places, So they got this beautiful fishing pier. It goes real far out into the water. It's all like nice lighting, spotless, clean. Well, they rent fishing poles there, and I bought bait, and I just go out there fishing. I'm catching red snapper and big snappers, and it was like one of those days fishing, Josh. Like, you actually got sick of catching fish. Like, you actually pull your bait away from fish because it wasn't big enough. You're like, there's just so many fish. So all the people that are afraid to touch fish and bait and stuff are walking out there in their nice clothes, and they're all, well-to-do people and families and stuff. Well, my hillbilly ass is catching these fish, As I'm catching the fish, there's pelicans out there. There's 3 pelicans. So I'm feeding my fish that I'm catching to the pelicans, like throwing the fish to the pelicans, and the pelicans are catching them. I gave them so many fish. You can see all the fish in their big gull underneath their mouth, And the people loved it. I had a crowd of people out there videotaping me catching these fish and throwing it to the pelicans and feeding the pelicans. They all loved it, man. And so this one girl was out there. The big things now is these girls do the TikToks and all this stuff. And so, like, this place is so fancy and nice. All these girls are in bikinis, and they're doing TikTok videos. And so the one girl wanted to feed the pelican the fish. So I gave her a fish to throw to the pelican, and as soon as I handed it to her, the thing flopped, and she screamed and dropped the fish, and that was it. I even offered there was one couple out there. I said, "You guys want to bait the hook?" And Josh, it was a frozen shrimp. That's what I was fishing with, frozen shrimp. They weren't even live. Like, I handed her the frozen shrimp, and she freaked out. It bit me. I'm like, the thing's dead and frozen, man. like I was the only one willing to get my hands dirty. Like my brother said, I was the only one willing to put my hands in the gravy. My brother always when we went fishing with worms and stuff like that. Yeah. Want to take the worm out, he would call it the gravy. So I was the only one out there fishing, willing to get fish guts and blood on my hands, and I was entertaining everybody. It was fun.
I'll bait my own hook, but I won't take the fish at all.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not a seafood person.
A couple times the fish really swallowed the hook, and I didn't have a pair of pliers or nothing, Mm-hmm. So when no one was looking, I would just break the line and throw that fish in the water with the hook in his mouth. And they're like, "Why did you feed that one to the pelican?" I'm like, "Yeah, that one wasn't good for the pelican. I didn't want the pelican to get his hook in his mouth."
Yeah. You're already killing one animal. Don't need to kill two.
So then someone comes out and says, "This is only catch and release." I said, "No, I thought the sign said catch and decease."
Oh my God. Yeah, I mean, it's still going back into wildlife.
Yeah,
so.
I mean, the pelicans would eat the fish. But, Josh, it got to the point where the pelicans were literally sitting right next to me. Like they were literally looking in the water with me, like, waiting for me to pull the – like, they became my friend.
Are you going to get that one? Get that one. I want that one.
Yeah, like, they were literally sitting with me, fishing with me. It was so funny. Like, people couldn't believe that these pelicans were, like, becoming my friend. Like they were literally looking in the water when I was dropping the bait in the water and waiting to see what comes up. It was funny. And then awesome. I would move. Like I said, the pier was long. It was huge. And it goes out to a T, and then it wings out, and it was real long. So I'd fish in one spot for a little while, and then I'd move to the other, and the pelicans would just walk over there with me and sit with me, and I'd walk somewhere else, and they'd follow me back to the other side and sit with me. It was fun.
That's awesome.
Hey guys, it's 10 o'clock. I got to get going. Just remember, everybody's Saturday night at Wall Stadium is ladies' night. It should be a fun night. I hope to see you there.
Yeah, we'll be back next week with plenty more to talk about. So go to Wall. Have a good one.
And this will wrap up episode 184 of the RPM podcast.
Good night, everyone.
Good night.
Wash your hands.
I said that. Wash your hands.
Good night, guys.
Good night. Have a good